Hello and welcome to the Hobby Corner. My name's Kev and this is my Mortal Realms series. In this episode we're going to be building and painting the Thorns of the Briar Queen. So stick around to find out more. So before we get started, please make sure that you smash that subscribe button and the bell icon next to it so you don't miss a video and you get all the notifications and all the wonderful bells and whistles. Also, plenty of ways to support the channel. There's links down below. So I have a butcher's and every penny goes straight towards supporting the channel. So big love if you do that. Also, fantastic groups, so make sure you check those out when you finish watching this video. It's very important. And the Chill Network website as well. Got the t-shirt, you can order your own there as well, so go check out that website, full of fantastic free content to enjoy as well. Now let's get to the meat of it, building the Thorns of the Briar Queen.
Alright, so let's get started. First of all, make sure that you're familiar with the frame, the models and everything like that. See where everything is numbered and have a look in the instructions so you know which pieces go where. I do like the detail on this frame. These models are amazing, they've got so much character. So you know, take a moment to enjoy that. You also need your tools, so the clippers, mold line remover, and you might not need the plastic glue, but keep it to hand just in case there are any gaps you need filling. Then you start clipping stuff out carefully. So you start with the fragile ends of everything, the thinner ends. As you see, this model has broken, but we can fix that later with a bit of glue. So we just clip that bit out and we'll neaten it up later before we glue it together. Always remember that when you do your mold line removing, you support all the delicate pieces with extra fingers underneath, so that when you're scraping along you don't break any more pieces off. And then for some of the pegs you may need to clip a little corner off like so, just at an angle, just so they fit a little bit better and you get more of a flush finish with the pieces. Then we get to gluing any bits that you broke, so just put the tiniest bit of glue. You don't want to go over the top because otherwise it will leak out the sides, and then you just carefully put the bits together as it should be. If you do have any of the plastic glue come out of the sides while it's still wet and before it starts setting, just wipe it away, and that way you won't get any streaks or fingerprints on the plastic, because as you may or may not know, the plastic cement, it melts the plastic together, so it will form a strong bond. But if you leave any fingerprints on there, they're going to stay on that model forever until you scrape them off. And there you go, it should look a little something like that.
So as you can see, there's some fantastic tips there. These are amazing models as well, lots of character, and I can't wait to get them painted. So speaking of painting them, let's get on to that bit.
Right, so as always, I've sprayed it with Corax White first. I did a quick spray, nice and thin, because I don't want to blot out any details. So it gets most of the work done, doesn't get all of the work done. So as always, we will need to paint some straight from the pot. So it will help sort of give a more consistent covering. If we need to touch up any mistakes, it won't look out of place, and yeah, it's just better to do it that way, and that we can fill out any bits that are missed out as well by the spray. So you get your Corax White, you get a bit of paper, a palette of some kind, some fresh water, and what you want to do is just thin it out a little bit. If you are just painting from the pot and you don't have a primer spray, that's not a problem either. You just follow the same tips and you want to just thin it down just enough so that when you paint on the palette, it comes out smooth. It doesn't come out patchy or start running. If it starts splitting and running, then you've watered it down too much, and just add a bit more paint from the pot, and then you just start brushing away. So as always, choose a section like the head or the back and just paint that first and then move on to the next bit. But luckily with this white paint, when it's wet you can tell the difference between it where you've painted and where it's dried already. Once you're done with that, we bring out the lilac oxide and make sure you give it a real good shake, and then I like to put a bit of blue tack underneath so I don't knock it over, because you know, it just makes sense to get the paint straight from the pot, then to pour it out and waste some of it on the palette. So give it a good shake, stick it down, and then get some on your brush, get a nice load on there, and then again choose a section to start from and start painting it on from there. So you will want to do this quickly because it does tend to dry fast, and when it starts drying, it will start leaving marks if you go over the bits that are already dried, and these are called tide marks, so you want to avoid those as much as possible because they are quite visible. So paint it on thick, paint it on fast, and don't worry if it starts looking patchy, because that's what the next step will be all about when we dry brush. So the dry brushing will help to smoothen it all out. So get it on quickly, and don't worry about it being too much of a mess. Just make sure it doesn't pull too much in the creases and the details, because otherwise that will, you know, ruin some of the details. And then we get to dry brushing. So we get your Corax white and you get your brush. Just a side note, make sure that when you are doing these steps, you rinse your brush often, because the paint will start drying on the bristles and it gets a lot more difficult to clean it off. So yeah, I tend to use bigger brushes, like a large base brush or a dry brush for the big areas, but just for the purpose of demonstrating, and because I know that at this point you lot will only have a starter brush, I'll be doing it with the starter brush. So you just take a little bit onto your palette, you work it into the bristles, not all the way up to the top where the fur is, just throughout the bristles, and then you wipe the rest off onto a bit of kitchen towel. And then I'll do a knuckle test, so I'll just wipe it across the creases of my knuckles, and if it leaves streaks, then there's too much paint, so I'll wipe it a little bit more. What you want is like a dusting effect, so it leaves sort of like a powdery residue, and that's what you want to get. So you start from section from section, and you just lightly brush the tip of the bristles against the raised details, like so. If you are painting delicate parts like this, make sure you got something behind it to support it, like a finger. And yeah, just be careful, take your time with it. Now you might not notice massive differences, but it's all about building it up gradually. So go over the model once, and if you feel like it's not enough, do exactly the same again, and you'll notice it'll start to build up gradually, and it will get all those nice raised details and really make them pop, and at the same time it will leave all that shading from the nylon oxide in the recesses. And then with the larger, flatter areas, you just want to keep building it up. You don't want to go too heavy on that. You do want it to be, again, largely focused on the raised areas of those flat parts and the edges. But don't worry about going a bit too overboard, because it's more forgiving as long as you leave the recesses shaded. And here we go, they should look something like this. Now, as you can tell, I've built it up a few times, so each model took me a little while to do. That's fine, you just take your time with it, but I went over each area and just gradually built it up, a couple of layers of that dry brushing, just to really help smoothen out any streaks from the nylon oxide, and at the same time build up the highlight on those details. And there you go, there's your chain rust as well. This should look something like this, and it's a massive improvement from just having white and nylon oxide put on it. So can only wait to see how they'll look in the future with more details colored in, but I'm more than happy to leave them as they are like this. They look absolutely fantastic and spooky. So with these models, they got a lot more flatter areas, a lot more cloth, especially the Banshees. So with these flat areas, again, just make sure you build up the layers and you don't get into the creases and recesses, and that will help make it pop. As you see, there's like a lot of the smooth areas aren't actually smooth, they just look smooth. So just focus on those raised areas. You can do the medium areas as well, but you want to focus as much as you can on the raised areas of those flatter parts, and that will help smoothen it all out.
And there you have it. So it's still quite simple at the moment, but you've got plenty of work to keep you busy. Dry brushing the entire lot is going to take time, especially with the small starter brush. But if you can get yourself a big beat up brush, an old brush, just a cheap brush if you can, if you got some lying around, it's perfect for dry brushing. And then you can keep the nice point on that starter brush for later on when you've got to do a bit more fine detail until you get those other brushes in the series. Also, don't forget that if you are subscribed and you get your deliveries to your house, then you will get bonus free brushes as well, so in one of the gifts. So you know, you'll get some awesome brushes to replace that beat up starter brush, because I'm pretty sure everyone's starting to look a bit napped. Anyway, enough waffling, let's move on to the community focus. So let's see what you guys in the community have done with your Thorns of the Briar Queen. And there we have it. So thank you so much to all the participants who've put forward their pictures of their work. There's some amazing examples of what you can achieve with those models, and it's all down to what you do with them as well. So I hope you get plenty of inspiration from that, and I hope you enjoyed watching that, because I bloody well did. Now, thank you so much for watching this video. Please do make sure that you check out all the links down below to support the channel and to support the groups on Facebook and the website as well. And thank you again for watching. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace.